time.
That's fine. Okay. Didn't need for that to happen. Okay. Alexa, play This Is the House That Cat Built by Aretha Franklin.
The House That Jack Built
I
by
said
Aretha
Pat.
Franklin on Amazon Music.
This was a land that it worked by hand. It was the dream of an uprising. It was a room that was filled with love. It was a love that I was proud of. It was a love that it planned. That love was laying on love. There's a house to back this, house to tap this. Remember this house. There was a fence that held our love.
Yes, it was.
The gate that we walked out of. This is the heart, it is turned to stone. This is the house, it ain't no home. This is the love that I can show. That I poured the love in the house that Jack built.
House to tap this.
Lord, remember this house. Oh, love, for you to survive it. So I brought it on myself and glorified it. But it's talk of money.
Hey, everybody. Well, I'm very unprepared today. Alexa, pause. Good evening, everybody. This is Tuesday, Kicking It with Kels. Thanks for joining me. I hope everybody had an amazing Thanksgiving, hanging out with family and friends. And I know I did. I had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I was away from home. I was home with my mom and my sisters and brothers, my beautiful nieces and nephew, and just had a really nice time. I left my husband here. My kids cooked for him. The girls hooked him up, had a nice meal and everything. Of course, they couldn't do it like Mama, but they did all right. He was pleased. So I went home, like I said, and I truly enjoyed myself. My trip was all of my sisters and brothers were present. Thank God for that. My mom was doing well, and I'll tell you one thing. Every time I go home and I get a chance to spend some quality time with my mom alone, that is just a blessing that I continue to thank God for. And when I go home, I learn so many more new things about her. You know, from her childhood, from her life as a teenager and young mother. You know, it's just a blessing to be able to listen to her stories. But baby, let me tell you something. My mom, I talk, you know, we talk about all her achievements and everything, and I saw a plaque in my bedroom, in my childhood bedroom, that had my mom standing up there with her plaque was Teacher of the Month, and she had won it for being the most punctual for the month of December. I don't know what year it was, but I was thinking, I won't get that one. That's not one I would receive for being punctual for a whole month. Oh, I try though. I try. I do try. This doesn't always work out that way. But hey, it's all good. I still try to do the best I can when I get there. So that's the main thing. But I tell you one thing, honey. Y'all see me with a tan? Y'all know how hot my mama's house is. Honey, I passed by that thermostat and looked up there. That thing said 78. I could have just cried. And I mean, if you put it on 77, she can tell. It's just, I'm cold. I'm like, oh, I just turned it down one notch and she's cold. So I'm sitting in here sweating like I'm in Nigeria somewhere. And I was thinking to myself, Lord, have mercy. The fan wouldn't help me. I said, now look, my mama's always talking about, I don't ever get to see your videos and everything. This would be very nice if you see it. And they called me. I don't know if I'm going to answer her phone. If she calls me tonight, I would just be like, nope, you're not getting ready to fuss me out because I said your house was hot. Thank you, cuz. I appreciate that. How you doing? I do want to give a get well shout out to your mother-in-law, cuz. We want you to get well, Mama Joyce. We are praying for you. We want you to get some rest, and most of all, get well, okay? Get home. My visit was a little bittersweet this time because my brother-in-law, Jim Lampley, my niece's dad, passed a few days before Thanksgiving, and so like I said, my trip was bittersweet. We're going to miss him. That was one of the coolest, most laid-back guys that I've ever seen in my life. Just as sweet as he could be. Just and 6'7" or 6'8". Is it 6? How tall is Jim Pat? I guess he can't hear me. Maybe 7 feet. But he's a tall guy. He was a tall guy. And just as sweet as he could be. So, yeah, I'm going to go on and get started.
Tall.
Huh?
Tall.
Yeah, tall. That's what I can say. Tall. Yes. So I don't plan to keep you all long tonight. I just want to talk about something the title is Being Silent and Being Thankful. Okay, I'm trying to read. Okay. Yeah, Jim, Lenny, he was so sweet. Yes. So, like I said, my title is Being Silent and Being Thankful. So while we wait on a blessing, silence is golden. I haven't always known that. I have done everything I'm getting ready to talk about and missed the blessing here and there because, anyway. We get so excited about what we have done. We want to share it with everyone we know. You know, even when the blessing finally shows up, we must remember to keep silent. Don't rush to announce it. Do you know that by announcing too much too soon, you can kill the seeds? What happens is we start to believe that we are the owner, but we are just the vessel. God uses us. He knows where we are. He knows what we can do. He's the one who made us be able to do it. He gave us the capabilities to do everything that we can do. So we must remember that God gives and he can take away. But he wants to know that you are a good steward, you know, and can you handle this blessing? Everything we have is borrowed, but we tend to get so excited when we get a breakthrough. And like I said, sometimes we start yapping before the thing is complete. Not every harvest is ready for display. When you expose the blessing too early, it can weaken and it can fizzle out altogether because it's not ready. Imagine finding out you're expecting a baby and you've been trying for so long, you've been waiting a long time, you had several mishaps, and although you're finally there, you get to about 12 weeks pregnant and you're so excited, you tell the doctor, I want my baby now. I want my baby right now. You know that doesn't make sense. Of course it doesn't. Everything has a process. We all know how long it takes for a baby to form and become healthy and strong inside of us before it's ready to come out, before he is born. When we announce things too soon, same thing. We invite unnecessary opposition. You expose the promise before it takes root. And when the wrong ears hear it, envy and negative energy begin to circulate. And believe it or not, it can become so loud that the seed can be killed. God is not against money. In fact, a lot of our breakthroughs include money. Most of our hopes and dreams require having money. Y'all know we ask God for money in our prayers. If you don't, you're different from me, because I sure ask him. I needed money while I was raising my children. Still raising some. I need money to do it. And you know that it takes money. For daycare, clothes, school, holidays, medical bills, life in general. It takes money for nearly everything. It takes money even when you're single. You know, just to live on your own. It takes money. Money is a necessary resource. And I believe God wants us to have it. He's not against money. He's certainly not against money or success. He's against pride and forgetfulness. Have you ever seen someone who comes into a blessing and they begin to give themselves all the credit? I did this. I did that. Look what I did. If I hadn't done this, man, I would have never. I can only imagine how God must feel about the use of the word I. The letter I that speaks of self. And this I. They are both homophones, okay? Which are words that sound the same and usually have different meanings. But in this case, the two have a lot in common. I think I this and I that. That's what we do. I this and I that. And let's not forget the prideful I, which is the same thing. Arrogance, a sense of superiority, unwilling to take criticism or ask for help, showing a lack of humility or empathy towards others. That's what God does not like. I believe it grieves God when we leave him out of the blessing, when we forget who gave us the blessing. We forget about the tears we cried while we prayed for the blessing and waited for doors to open. Some of us forget to give God thanks. And I think so many people make that mistake. They start to believe they made everything happen on their own. We see it with celebrities all the time. This is kind of like a little side note. I remember going to some Tyler Perry plays back in the day. And when he was getting ready to start making movies, my husband and I would be at his plays. We went to all those plays that we could. And I remember him saying that he was never going to allow people to curse on his movies or in his movies. Baby, cursing is an understatement that happens in Tyler Perry stuff. Oh my goodness. He said he was never going to allow this and he was never going to allow that. You see how people do when the blessing is on the way? They make all these promises to God. I'm never going to allow this to happen. I'm never going to allow people to do this and I'm never going to allow people to do it. Hunty, they do that and plenty more. Plenty in the Tyler Perry movies. I mean, he's still a rich man and blessed and everything, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know what his life is like, but I know I remember him saying that. And like I said, they do plenty of that and some. Plenty more. Worse than cussing. But that was just a little side thing. But like I said, we begin to use the gift or the blessing. Some people with celebrities, we're talking about, they and even with people with regular jobs, because everybody can't handle authority. And they began to use it to manipulate, hurt, and abuse people. People that they think are beneath them. No matter how big you get, and contrary to popular belief, there are no big I's and little U's. Not in God's eyes. Not in God's eyes. There's a story about a man who he had just interviewed for this fabulous job. The best thing that ever happened to him. A breakthrough, a dream come true. He didn't have anything any more than regular people have. But he got blessed. God blessed him. He went to this interview and the panel loved him. They were eating out of his hands. They were like, boy, he got it. I know he has it. He's got everything that we're looking for. They thought he was so amazing. Some of them didn't even want the interview to end. He would be making a 7-figure salary, more than he could have ever imagined. But before they could close the deal, they needed him to meet their boss, who was over every sister company in the region, and who created that position that he interviewed for, that this guy was interviewing for. His name was Akron, the guy that was interviewing. They knew the big guy would love Akron. He was qualified in every possible way. He put every other applicant to shame. He had the look, he was articulate, he was brilliant and funny. And everybody loves a person with a good sense of humor. Someone went to get the boss from his office, but his assistant said he had left early that day to go and check on his mother. They asked Akron if he would come back the next day. Of course, he said, grinning and shaking hands. He was excited. He said, of course I'll come back tomorrow. I've never seen anything like this. This is just the greatest thing that ever could have happened to Akron, right? So he went out that night with friends to celebrate. He told everybody about his great big salary and his breakthrough, how his ship had finally come in, and how long he had waited for it. He boasted so much about his salary. He was going to be the highest paid of all of his friends. He was going to have this brand new life, and he would have this, after a while, the friends started looking at him like, you know how that thing goes. You can't do it. So, people looking upside his head like, okay, enough already. Some of them even left to depart from Mr. Braggadocious. But the next day, he was heading back to the office to meet the big boss. But on his way, someone cut him off in traffic. And instead of him ignoring it, he threw a fit. Let his window down. His fingers were blazing in the air. You know how the fingers do. Yelling F-bombs. Jumped in front of the man who cut him off and wouldn't let the man pass. He purposely blocked that man for as long as he could. When he got to the office, the assistant said the boss wouldn't be back for a few days and they would call him. Just like they said, a week later they gave him a call and told him that the boss had returned. He wants to meet you. He's excited. He went inside. Oh, he was so happy to meet the boss. They shook hands, introduced themselves, and the boss said, "Have a seat. I heard a lot about you. I was so impressed." He said, they said that you are that guy, and I would love you on sight. But today I received a report about the man I cut off in traffic a few days ago, and I was trying to keep up with the ambulance. I'm so sorry about that. I cut you off, but I was trying to keep up with the ambulance who was transporting my extremely sick mother to the hospital. I remember the rage I experienced through your profane words and your disrespectful gestures. Then, to top it off, you held me in traffic, blocking me for miles, keeping me from making it to the hospital to say goodbye to my sweet dear mother. And he sniffed and said, so I'll say to you, young man, goodbye. And I will ensure that I block you every time you think about this job. I have eyes everywhere. Now, I don't know if the boss had that kind of clout, but I do know that we need to be careful about God, taking God's credit. I wonder what Akron's friends thought when he didn't, when his life didn't change. Things stayed the same. Akron probably had to go back and beg for the job that he had back. I don't know how it ended. But the moral of the story is, don't make a move too soon. Don't get to taking credit from God. And don't be thinking that you all that. You got to remember the blessing, that it's a blessing. He shared the blessing too soon, and he never once gave God credit. We hear all the time that money is the root of all evil. Well, of course, money itself is not evil. I heard a man say that money is a tool that tests the soul. It exposes what's inside of you and reveals whether whether it was faith, your faith was genuine, or if it was just about making yourself comfortable. It doesn't always have to be about money. Remember when you pray for that husband, that wife, that baby, that house, that deliverance, that healing, that good health? Sometimes it's just not about, it's not all about money. Can we wait on the blessing? Do we take the blessing for granted when we get it? And can we give God praise? And can we be grateful and show him gratitude for the things that he has done? And be careful not to take the credit. Our God is an awesome God. And as long as we know that, and as long as we know that we can do nothing without him, absolutely nothing without him, then we just might not miss the blessing. I believe the silence and gratitude are two key components in receiving the blessing. And that's all I have tonight, guys. Let's just be careful about giving God all the praise, all the glory, and all the credit, because he deserves it. Our God is an awesome, awesome, awesome God. I can't say it enough, and I can't thank him enough. He is truly good. Hallelujah. Whew, when I think about the goodness of the good Lord, honey, it just almost makes me look at me stuttering and everything. He is awesome. He is awesome, and he is in control. And then, like you said, he is in control of everything. Everything. So you guys have an amazing night. I hope y'all, like I said, had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week. Be good to yourself. Be good to each other. And know that God is God. And without him, we are nothing. I just hope everybody knows it. Y'all have a blessed week. Deuces. Peace out. Alexa, continue. Yes, want to shout. Hey. Yes, want to shout, Danny. Shout. Hey, Jimmy. Hey, Lane. Gladys. How you doing? Yes, stay humble. Yes, boast in the Lord. Yes, because he is worthy. He is truly worthy. All right, y'all. Night, night.